Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's I've just launched the YouTube channel. Did I tell you I'm doing these nature restoration projects that I'm trying to bring more attention to that are happening here in the UK and the people behind them. So yeah, got the podcast I'm launching in a couple of weeks, but the
Right.
the YouTube channel's just gone live. Wilding
Oh,
Earth
fantastic.
is what I'm calling it.
Wilding Earth, right? Yes, I remember you sent me the video, and
Yeah, sorry, yeah, of
I
course.
gave back some
Yeah,
comments.
you
Yeah.
did. Thanks so much for your feedback. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It was really cool. I love the concept. I love the vibe of it. I will make sure to get that on my list of channels that I'm following. So look, let's get into it. Why I'm really excited to talk to you is you're my first sort of legitimate startup sort of founder person. There's a lot of I've done a lot of interviews with innovative people that are doing projects that are really exciting and innovative, but you're the first startup founder, and so I'm a little bit more closely familiar with that world. So I'm excited to get into it. So maybe to kick it off, um, could you give us a little bit of the elevator pitch for Earthly, just so that we've got that idea up front, everyone understands what we're talking about, and then I'd like to backtrack a little bit into your background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, happy to do that. So I think that building on what we were just talking about, there's this
Yeah.
$700 billion annual funding gap to nature. So we've spent a lot of time looking at why this exists, and a big part of it is around trust with nature-based projects. There's a huge range of quality in the market, and so in short, Earthly helps businesses de-risk their nature investments. We developed an assessment that screens 106 quality indicators across carbon, biodiversity, and social impact. So it's really holistic. And yeah, not only can it de-risk the investments from a reputational perspective for our clients, but we also we do origination. So we kind of partner businesses with project developers and create these multi-year relationships where they can also de-risk the costs and the prices of investing into these projects. That's the kind of
Okay.
like a really top line overview of what we do.
Sure, and we'll get into the details, but I did want to get a little bit of your journey and background before we dive in, because I think that's really relevant, because you have founded quite a few organizations. You have quite a varied background. Maybe we could start with going back to VITL. Is it Vital?
Vital, yeah. So prior to Vital was Waterbomb, which was
Okay.
which is a health drinks business that I founded in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
and then it was actually really by taking Waterbomb through a B Corp process. So we were a founding year 2015 UK B Corp,
Right. Okay.
first drinks company in Europe to be B Corp. And so yeah, it was really through that process that kind of introduced me to business as a force for good, and getting to meet other founders and other CEOs, other impact B Corps was
Right.
a big catalyst for getting to Earthly. But along that journey, I co-founded a subscription nutrition business, Vital,
Right.
with an old friend, a private label drinks development business called Liquid Fusion,
Mm-hmm.
and and then as I was saying, the B Corp kind of experience really sort of set my heart on creating a business with impact at its heart and impact at its
Right.
core. And in 2018, we had I don't know if you remember the 1.5 degrees report from the IPCC, which
I
basically,
don't.
yeah, it was the media picked it up, and the headline was, we have 10 years
Oh, right. Yeah.
to defeat climate change. I don't know if you remember the headlines.
Yep.
And around that time, I had my son was born. And so it was a really
Hmm.
combination of understanding the severity of the situation with all the scientific data that I was starting to kind of get my head around. And at the same time, my son being born and thinking about his future,
Yep.
really was the catalyst for me to decide to pivot my career into impact and to basically creating a business that can make a meaningful difference for climate and nature. And this is really where Earthly originated
Came
from.
from.
Yeah.
I mean, so you talk about pivot into impact, but clearly, water bomb. being a B Corp, you already had sort of designs on being ethical in business. So what specifically was Waterbomb, and why did you create it as a B Corp?
So it wasn't a B Corp to start with in 2008 because it was sort of pre the
Okay,
movement. But yeah, it was a health drinks business, creating beverages to support people's health and well-being, I guess, is the short sort of
right,
overview. And I was lucky to meet a guy called Mark Cunningham, who at the time was
right,
MD of Ella's Kitchen. And he was sort of like, look, Ollie, you've got to check out B Corp. He was kind of advising us at the time. And he was like, you've got to check out B Corp. It's an amazing movement from America. It's coming to the UK. And he really encouraged us to, to go for it and to apply. And so it was really off his sort of advice and recommendation that we went for it. And through the process, you kind of, because when you do the B impact assessment, you kind of screens your business and around different areas, and that's a real kind of learning opportunity to see how you can structure a business for impact across those different areas. So that that was really the learning experience for me. But yeah, all thanks to Mark Cunningham for. And he kind of jokes because he took Ella's through, because they're part of Hayden Celestial, and he took them through the B Corp process. But because they're a much bigger company, it took them a year or so. So
right.
he was starting before me, but because we were smaller, we were able to get in there, get in there first. So that's the kind of the journey to being a B Corp.
Right. And so Earthly is I mean, a lot of your back past experience is in CPG, in packaged drinks.
Yeah.
How did you make the pivot? How did you think about making the pivot to something like Earthly, which is a completely different
Mm.
type of beast?
Yeah, I think I'd always wanted to be involved in tech, and
Right.
so
Okay.
you're right. There's the having a software product is very, very different to a
Right.
physical consumer product. But I guess there are parallels in certain areas, and I've been very lucky that certainly from a tech perspective to have worked with really talented and passionate technologists, and I've been able to kind of learn, I guess, through the teams that I've worked with. But no, I did recognize that it was a different, it was a very different industry. But again, the kind of the lens that myself and my co-founder Lorenzo looked through from the beginning was like, what can we create that will make a meaningful difference? We didn't want to pivot our careers into climate and nature just for the sake of it. We wanted to make a dent in the problem and have a meaningful difference and add value to like the ecosystem, because there's loads of kind of climate tech, nature tech innovation. So we were always
Mhm.
thinking about where are the gaps and how can we add value, and rather than replicating what's already there. Or so yeah, that was our approach, and then come up with the idea and then just work out a way to execute it.
So so this report comes out. You've had a son. You're sort of thinking about wanting to pivot and do things differently. How do you get from the report to this solution, to Earthly? Where does the idea come from?
So we started off as a B2C app called Almond,
Right.
and essentially we were working with 80 sustainable brands, and they would reward their customers for purchasing their products or services with nature rewards. So that was more similar, I think, to the consumer world, the FMCG world, and
Hmm.
a lot of those customers that signed up, I'd met from the B Corp community.
Right.
So the idea was you could shift your spending towards low impact, sustainable, regenerative products, and then you could get rewarded, and you could protect and restore nature in the process, funded by these brands as a reward kind of mechanism. And what happened was we were slowly organically growing our community, a few thousand people a month, but it was slow, and we were
Right.
also frustrated, but because we were restricted to just working with UK companies, because you had to be physically kind of near them to spend in store or online for delivery.
Hmm.
And two things happened. A lot of the businesses we were working with said, "Look, we like offering these nature rewards. We want to do more. What can we
Hmm.
do with you?" And then the second big kind of catalyst for us was we got approached by CaixaBank in Spain, and they said, "Look, we love your app. Can we can you help us replicate elements of your app in our banking app? And at the time, I think they had 2 million customers. So we sort of stood back and we're like, look, there's a much bigger opportunity B2B, helping customers do more, which includes rewards.
Hmm.
And growing, rather than growing our own community, let's piggyback on existing communities and let's help customers that have millions of customers to do things better, find high impact projects, de-risk their nature investments, and help them get a return. Because we look at things like the impact metrics that then those customers can share with their customers to kind of evidence the good that's happening on the ground. So I guess what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say is Almond, played a big part in the evolution to Earthly, and yeah, so we had a big pivot early on
sure.
in kind of the journey B2C to B2B.
I think that's really interesting. I had a very similar experience with my startup where we were in the food label business. We
Mm,
started as a B2C, right, to try to give people transparency into food label information.
yeah,
We pivoted into a enterprise solution for retailers and manufacturers to solve their data problems. And I'm hearing you speak about it. It's made me realize the reason that I probably did that, and I'm wondering if it's the same for yourself, is because when you're starting at that level, you're trying to solve this big problem. You're looking at it from the perspective you have at that moment, and it's much easier to see B2C as a way to solve the problem, right? As you kind of get into it and you start to learn about the industry and the sector and how everything works, it actually makes more sense to transition and pivot. Does that kind of explain a little bit your
yeah,
experience?
yeah. I think the key reasons for us were it was commercially stronger doing B2B, and
Sure. Yeah.
secondly, yeah, we could grow quicker. We could have more impact. And again, going back to why we pivoted our careers into the impact space was to make a difference. And so yeah, those were the two reasons. It just felt like a no brainer. And then it's
So
not to
what
say
I
that we could do our own thing in the future if we wanted to come back and do B2C, but it makes far more sense for us to help our clients do B2B2C rather than do it ourselves.
yeah, I I feel like the lesson there is the fact that you started right. You just went in. You started. Your first
Yeah.
intuition was B2C, and you just went for it, and you were completely happy to pivot, and that's kind of a key thing that I think a lot of people need
We should have
to
done it
to.
earlier. We should have pivoted
Well,
earlier.
well, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
So I think there's it is everyone says fail fast but
Right.
it's hard to know the right time. Should we just give it a bit longer? Then we're going to turn a corner, and are we going to kind of get to critical mass? And but yeah, no, I think the the power of being a smaller company is you have that agility to be constantly learning and tweaking your kind of direction, and that's what we've always tried to do. With even with Earthly, we started off doing quite a lot, and we've kind of focused over the years on doing a fewer things but doing them much better.
Yeah. I feel like there's an allure to solving a B2C problem, which people sort of naturally get drawn to. But in fact, it's really hard to do B2C. It takes a long time, and you need really specific, fine skills.
And I think
Um,
the challenge as well is you always imagine yourself as the end user, and it's very hard. So you're building something for
right.
yourself in a way, and I think yeah, that's adds an element of challenge where you're trying to like think of how your different personas and customers are thinking, whilst trying to not be biased from your own personal biases.
Yeah. So okay, you pivoted into B2B. Where is your value proposition at this stage? What's the problem that you're solving now?
Yeah, I mean, no, I touched on it earlier. It's the
Hmm.
quality, it's the quality issue in the nature-based market, and we've seen a lot of media coverage talking about this and talking about projects that aren't doing things correctly, and developers that aren't acting in the right way. And very on at Earthly, so about 4 years ago, we saw, just looking at the established registries, we saw a huge range of quality within nature-based projects. So early on in
Hmm.
Earth's journey, we realized we had to have a way to screen projects, for ourselves, and
Right.
that's really evolved to the case where the recent media coverage has highlighted A, the range of quality in the market, but B, how important from a
Yeah.
reputational perspective that businesses need to be supporting the right projects. And so that's the core of what we've focused on, is de-risking, screening projects, de-risking businesses' investments into nature. And sort of through that process, we get to really understand projects and their strengths and their USPs, and so we can match make nature-based projects with businesses' values to create these much more authentic partnerships. And then
Hmm.
the kind of the kicker is on mapping out the impact data and the outcomes from the investments into these projects. And we can serve back to our clients, the granular impact, so they can speak to their customers about it, they can speak to their employees about it, and then and everyone they can get more value from those nature investments.
Okay, so just to maybe add some color around the organizations, the companies, the businesses that would be seeking to invest in nature-based solutions.
Mm.
What kind of organizations are they, and where's the budget coming from? Why are they trying to invest in these kind of activities?
Yeah, so we work with 650 odd businesses. To start with, we focused on SMEs as we were building up our reputation, and now we're very focused on enterprise customers with 1,000 employees or more. So some of our bigger customers, recently we've won a global deal with Deloitte, as an example. I
Hmm.
mentioned Caixa Bank, we've been working with from the beginning. S&P Global. Um, I'd say our customers probably fall into either fintech, manufacturing, or the built environment.
Right.
And they sort of really fall into two buckets. On the one hand, it's the net zero committed businesses, who've got a 2030 commitment, and they've realized that with reduction by 2030, they're going to have 1 million tons of hard to abate, emissions they're going to need to offset. And so they've started to think now about, how can I find high quality credits that align with my
Hmm.
values, but also a pricing that's fair. So we would typically help them create new projects that would deliver carbon credits for their needs from 2030 and beyond.
Right.
And then the other half is not linked to offsetting. It's not linked to a footprint. It's companies that want to kind of integrate nature protection and support into their business model. So they might be, for every purchase or every sale, I'm going to make this nature investment, or I'm going to commit X% of revenues to nature, or I already have a fund of or a pool of money here. Can you invest
Hmm.
it into nature-based projects that align with our values? And so these are really exciting, as they're open ended, and they're kind of tied to the success of the company. And I almost call a lot of these businesses are kind of moving to become regenerative and have a net positive impact on the planet, and then kind of use that as a point of difference to
Hmm.
as a competitive differentiator to drive sales, to drive loyalty, to drive engagement. Whereas the net zero businesses is more kind of compliance, is more
Right.
it's a different sort of type of thing. I mean, I think the other thing to add is, on the biodiversity credit, we're doing stuff for the compliance market here in the UK for house builders, but also we're building a voluntary system based on the UK compliance market,
Hmm.
where yeah, companies can make biodiversity focused nature contributions.
Okay. So, in my experience working with a lot of NGOs here in France, I found it really interesting that a lot of the NGOs were very, very particular about where they would take their money from in order to do certain projects. To the degree where they would not take money and they would let a project fail because they didn't want to take it from a specific organization. And where that comes from is, there's been sort of decades worth of what we call greenwashing, right?
Mm.
um, this doesn't feel at all like that, but if a cynic was to look at it, they might sort of label this as similar to that. How do you sort of address
Yeah, I
that kind
mean,
of thing?
yeah, I think it's I think the two things I'd say. That first of all, we've built one of the most thorough, robust assessments to on the project side to make sure
Hmm.
that we're only working with the very best. And to give you an idea, we screened 300 projects last year, and only 8% met our minimum standards. So that that
Right.
shows, I think, the challenges the market has, but also
Yeah. Right.
emphasizes our minimum standards. And then on the business side, yeah, we don't work with every company. We get approached by oil and gas businesses, and we don't work with them. And we only work with companies that are genuine. Sometimes they're science-based targets committed, but
Hmm.
they're generally doing things in the right way and not looking to greenwash. Um, and then for our customers that we do work with, we have very clear comms and support. We have a kind of customer hub where they can go in and get advice on how to communicate the work that they're doing and make sure it's compliant with Green Claims Code and other legislation that's now coming in, to make sure they're not greenwashing.
Yeah. Okay, great. And
Yeah.
so an organization's then invested in
Mm.
some actions, some projects,
Yeah.
some impact, and then you're communicating back to them and providing them with resources about the things that they've supported.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about how these align with their values
Hmm.
and how they'd want to engage their customers and their employees around that. What does that look like for them?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example. So, a healthcare company
Yeah.
comes to us, and
Hmm.
they want to invest into nature-based projects for the carbon benefits. They also care about biodiversity and, of course, health on the social side. So, we go back to them and say, right, these are ten projects that over-index on health. They all meet
Hmm.
our minimum standards across those 106 quality indicators. And from these 10, if you care about delivering vaccinations, then this one does the most per dollar invested. Or if you care about providing healthcare to children, then this one. So we can be really we can create these really relevant, authentic, kind of connections and relationships. And it's funny, just to also touch on your other point, like with greenwashing and offsetting.
Hmm.
Currently as it stands, the carbon credit kind of mechanism, the voluntary carbon unit, it's it is one of the most effective ways to channel money to nature protection and restoration. And it
Hmm.
can be used incorrectly and inappropriately, but it's still,
Sure.
it's interesting. There's been a lot of misconception around, carbon voluntary carbon credits are bad, you know carbon offsets are bad, but they're, as a unit or as a tool, they're the best thing that we have currently. So
Right.
it's almost sad in a way, because I think the tide has now changed, but certainly a year ago a lot of businesses were scared to make these nature investments through a carbon credit mechanism, which is the main tool that we have,
Hmm.
because of a lot of media coverage around greenwashing. And so we really shot ourselves in the foot, I think, and we lost a lot of time, um, at a point where you and I can agree, it's the Earth systems are collapsing around us, and it's make or break time. And so yeah, it was quite saddening, I think, to see you know that knock on effect where businesses were just scared to do anything because they were going to be accused of greenwashing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There's that catch 22, and that's why there is this huge funding gap, right? Because as you touched on at the very beginning, there's a trust issue,
There's a trust issue.
and
Yeah, there is a quality issue in the market. 8% of the projects met our minimum, meet our minimum standards. But I also want to add, we don't just sit there and say, right, your project, you're bad, you're good. We actually
right.
we share the data back.
Hmm.
We say, look, these are the areas that these are the issues that we had, and by the way, this area here, speak to these people here. They found a solution. So we do want to share best practice, and we do want to raise the bar of quality across the market. And we do want to help, you know, people do things better.
Yeah, I want to get into how the next sort of step in the process, which is the
Mm.
money comes in. There's impact has been purchased, and then that money goes to an organization that's doing something, and how all that works. Um, Before I do though, I just wanted to touch on what you mentioned there about the quality and the
Yeah.
scoring and the evaluation.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit more depth about how you do that? And I'm
Mm.
guessing a bunch of that is your special sauce, your USP, so to speak.
Yeah, we're very transparent. We have a white paper which
Hmm.
talks through our methodology, and we have
Yeah.
several data layers that we ingest, from public data, private data, partner data, geospatial. Um, so it can be to start with taking the design project design docs,
Hmm.
screening those, the annual reports. We have partners like B0 where we take their carbon data and cross reference it with ours. We have geospatial sort of satellite data partners where we're looking at biomass amongst many other indicators. We have sentiment analysis tools looking for online coverage, keywords related to projects. And so some of the stuff is we do as part of the initial assessment, and some of it is ongoing, sort of
Right.
monitoring that we have
Monitoring.
throughout the process. But yeah, it has historically taken about a week for someone in the research team to screen a project. It really depends on if we need more information from the developer and the sort of time for them to get back to us. But we are now working with Google on using some of their AI tools, and we have a few Google engineers that are kindly supporting us to
Hmm.
kind of automate parts of our assessment, sort of streamline the process. And we're now
Right.
looking at a kind of a mini pre-assessment, which is fully automated, which will enable us to screen, you know, every nature-based project where we can get the data and create these shortlists of what we believe are high quality, and then to dig into those shortlists with our more detailed, more comprehensive full assessment.
And you focusing on nature-based solutions,
Yeah.
which I feel like is also a filter for quality, and or at least there's a focus there. Why is that?
The simple answer is, carbon, biodiversity, people. We're in a biodiversity crisis as well as a climate crisis. They're interlinked, as well as social issues. The people most affected by climate change are often at the forefront and involved in the communities that we're working with. And so with
Mhm.
nature-based solutions, there's an opportunity for multiple wins to
Right.
tackle these two massive interlinked crises and to also support the people who are most affected by it. And I think for me as well, I love the fact there's the storytelling. Is a chance to kind of excite people and inspire people and reconnect people to nature, which we are a
Sure.
part of.
Hmm.
Um, Not to say renewable energy isn't important, but now, yeah, it's pretty much the case that it's cheaper to the energy is now cheaper. So actually, they don't need the kind of carbon
Hmm.
credit support there, and additionality is a severe issue if you're creating credits from renewable energy. So that's why we never touched that. And the tech-based stuff, yeah, look, the scientific guidance is that will play a role, but we're still many years away from that kind of getting to where it needs to be. And I
Sure.
personally feel that fossil fuel companies should be funding a lot of that tech-based development, and those tech solutions. But yeah, what it boils down to is it it's moving away from carbon tunnel vision with the tech, and recognizing that if we get climate and carbon under control, but we don't fix the biodiversity crisis, that we're still toast. So nature-based solutions really are important for carbon and for biodiversity and people.
Yeah, there's another part of it which is, I think, a little bit important as well, which is, you know, climate solutions are really big. They're huge. They take a long time to see the impact, the results. Whereas nature-based solutions, biodiversity projects, you can see results, within a short amount of time, and that can be really important to develop a sense of progress, right?
Yeah.
I was speaking with a scientist down here in France, and he was saying exactly that. He said they've shifted their whole focus on biodiversity because it's just more tangible. And guess what? It helps with the climate stuff as well.
And,
Um,
and, and we haven't even spoken about food, again,
right.
which we need to keep on top of for our survival on this planet. And so, yeah, nature-based solutions, regenerative agriculture is a big part of. We support several different projects working in that space. And so yeah, it really is a. But I think for me, the like stepping back is sort of like a reminder that we're almost it's we you know we're part of nature based solutions ourselves as humans on this planet, and yeah, we're interconnected with nature. So it also feels like the most sort of natural, organic place to be supporting.
Yeah, I agree. So talking about the supporting piece,
Mm.
as the money that's being sponsored gets transferred to the organizations who are doing the the work of the project, how how do you there's this problem in the sector around double selling projects.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm using the terms that are
yeah, double
um,
counting,
right,
additionality.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And so, presumably, and correct me if I'm wrong, the money sort of gets sent to a organization that's doing some actions. They're
yeah,
sort of doing the action, and then what's coming back is some proof and evidence, some stories about the actions that were performed. How do you tie that and ensure that that process is legitimate?
yeah. Well, it's in the screening process. There's several areas that we look at, related to this, and it goes beyond checking the money's going, and things aren't being double counted and things are being
Right.
retired. It also goes to like how much of that money is going to the community on the ground who are kind of
Right.
responsible. So the benefit sharing from that, which again
Okay.
is another area we have several questions that explore that. Um, so typically, a lot of the projects you work with, they're on bigger registries where you can
Hmm.
track and retire credits. And then for the UK, for this voluntary biodiversity credit we're developing, we developed our own registry. But I think this is also a really good use case for Web3 and for tokenizing assets, for immutability and traceability. And I wouldn't be surprised that in the not too distant future, if all of these things are, you know, evolve onto a distributed ledger,
Sure.
and it feels like the natural evolution. Everything is tokenized, everything is traceable, trackable, rather than having
Yeah.
these sort of separated registries. So yeah, I would be if that hasn't happened in the next decade, I'd be amazed.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's coming pretty fast. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming out of the. Do you follow the refi space,
Yeah,
the
I do.
regenerative finance space?
Yeah, I have loosely. I mean, it's there's so much happening, and it's just having the time to yeah to follow everything. But no, I do try and keep an eye on it, and I'd love for Earthly to be fully tokenized some point in the future, for
Sure.
everything to be on Ledger. I think that's it's gonna happen. So we've been looking at Refi, and we've been looking at like platforms like Hedera
Hmm.
since 2018. We've been following it. Just we have been waiting for the right time to
Sure.
to do it.
So I was trying to get to something with the idea of the impact, and I, I feel like there's a level of selection of projects that you're doing, which
Yeah,
enables you to. It's not just about quality; it's almost the form of the projects. Because in order for you to be able to pump money, uh, and I'm using very crude language, uh,
yeah.
I apologize, but to sort of pump
Accelerate
money,
investment.
sorry,
Accelerate investment.
to accelerate investment, the impact needs to be the kind of impact that can be scaled up fairly easily, um, and in a proportional way to the money that's coming in
Yeah.
without significantly increasing operational costs.
Hmm.
What I'm trying to say is it's like tree planting is quite
Hmm.
scalable, right?
Hmm.
One tree, $1 for one tree. Give me
Hmm.
$100, I can get 100 trees planted.
Yeah.
It's there's zero marginal cost to that, so it's very scalable.
Yeah.
Some projects like an artificial reef is
Hmm.
not very scalable like that, right? You need $100,000. You need to align a whole bunch of people. It's not the kind of thing you can sort of have a pipeline of investment going into, and do. 1,000 reefs. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like there's you. It seems like you must be picking projects that can scale. Is that correct?
No, no, I disagree. No, I think
Okay.
and I think the reef can be scalable. Obviously, in early
Okay.
pilot stage, whilst they're developing, they're understanding the most effective way to deploy the reefs into
Yeah.
locations and building their
Right.
team and capacity. But I think you can get to a point with all of these things. There's plenty of land, ocean available.
Mhm.
The blocker that we have is the experience and the people to execute on the ground. I think that's the big. So there's a big opportunity to kind of upskill different people in
Yeah.
different parts of the world
Sure.
to deploy and to regenerate and to protect Earth. But what's been really fascinating through screening all these projects, we can see a kind of meta analysis of which project developers are linked to the highest scoring projects. So we've been able to kind of zero in on a few key partners, build relationships with them, and they've luckily wanted to work with us because they see that we're recognizing all of the good work that they're doing in
Hmm.
our assessment, and then essentially speak to them and say, right, what's your pipeline for origination? What projects do you have? And to get really good understanding and visibility of that, and then that's a key part of the pipeline that we offer to our corporate clients is through those relationships. And there's plenty of opportunities there, with these more established developers. And I'd be really interested, on your point, to see over time how we can also work with smaller developers who are looking to get started and to try and tackle this issue I mentioned around actually having the experience on the ground, having like the ecopreneurs to deliver these projects.
Yeah. Okay. It's quite a fascinating problem actually because you're like a double-sided marketplace, right?
Mm.
You can't be selling. You're like selling inventory if you don't have the inventory. So you need to be able to have enough inventory, but then getting the inventory if you don't have enough demand is there's this balance that you're trying to constantly weigh up.
But in a
And
way,
go
with
ahead.
origination, because it's early stage, sometimes very early stage, you kind of you only action the project if you have the buyer or the investor. So that helps when building out a two-sided marketplace.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
Right. You can have the inventory sort of waiting in the warehouse, so to speak,
yeah.
ready to go.
These are there's this is the area of peatland that can be restored. We can start on this area for this cost. We can do the whole thing for that cost. So again, with these partners we've identified,
Hmm.
they typically have a whole pipeline of opportunities, undeveloped opportunities. Some have had feasibility studies, but most are normally quite early stage. And then it's through the corporate partnerships that we bring. It's then going through a process of evolving on those feasibility studies, and then typically phasing the investments linked to milestones throughout the kind of evolution of a project.
Okay. You mentioned that when you're looking at you have sort of good partners who have that potential to scale up, and you through your evaluation you're able to identify those good partners. I would guess you're getting pretty good at identifying those kind of partners. And can you sort of see them from a ways off now? And what do they sort of broadly resemble a good partner
Yeah,
for you?
it's the yeah we're definitely learning a lot and getting kind of better.
Hmm.
But again, it's a very scientific approach that we have. We take
Okay,
in the data, and then it's the scores are quite black and white. And
sure.
we try not to kind of jump to conclusions. And so even with the origination partners we're working with, we'll still go through the screening process for new projects, and we'll
Right,
still monitor them in exactly the same level of due diligence as we would any other. But we just
right.
know, because they've got a track record of delivering high quality projects, there's a high chance that they're going to meet our minimum standards, and they're going to deliver another amazing project. So yeah, we try to kind of keep it scientific and stick to our methodology, I guess, if for want of a better word.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, we do you do learn insights, and we kind of touched on a few things that make a great project. It's accurate, accurate reporting on the good that's actually happening on the ground, really fair benefit sharing with the community. really strong
Hmm.
community ties from the outset of a project. And these are all kind of ingredients, baseline assessments for biodiversity. So really understanding the kind of the current status of a project, and and having various safeguards involved for potential issues that may emerge. Because at the end of the day, we're dealing with nature and problems happen.
Yeah, sure.
So it's also setting yourself up to deal with issues when they arise in the fairest and most efficient way that they can be dealt with.
And so how do you think about your key performance indicators? Like, what is your impact as an organization? Is
Yeah,
it is it that you just assume the impact of the others, or do you look at your impact slightly differently?
no, we aggregate all of the impact across projects that our clients are funding.
Yeah,
So that's one element, and I guess as an organization, our big goal is to protect and restore at least 1% of the planet by 2030, which is about
right. Yeah.
150 million hectares of land and ocean.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the big goal we're working to, and so origination, forms a key part of that. Um, but yeah, we kind of see our impact. It's linked. It's intrinsically linked to the impact that our clients and investors are having with our project partners.
There's a natural sort of dichotomy between the idea of protecting 150 million hectares of, did you say ocean, was it?
Yeah, protecting and restoring 150 million hectares of land and ocean, so we can.
Right.
We're doing a lot of blue carbon, coastal and ocean-based projects as well.
Because an easy way to get there would be to lower your standards, right? Because a lot of people talk about their hectares that they protect. I mean,
Mm,
a lot of it seems fairly wishy-washy,
mm.
but I guess the way you guys are doing it is you're trying to hit 150 million hectares of area protected, but it's all under this quality evaluation system, right?
Yeah,
And so
everything.
I guess,
Yeah, that will be through projects that meet our minimum standards. So they're delivering, yeah, with strong carbon, biodiversity, social impact, and actually, so linked to that, other metrics we track is obviously carbon removed or avoided, and then livelihoods improved. So
right.
we'll have clear data on that. We track clear data around that, as well as all the granular impact metrics that we've said, like
Sure.
education, hours of education, um, vaccinations delivered, people receiving healthcare, all these kind of things.
It's a really exciting project. Can you give me, like, from your perspective, from a personal perspective,
Mm.
um, a story about one of the projects you guys have done that for you really hit home and made you proud of what you guys are doing?
Well, do you know what? It's a really tough one
Right.
to individually pull out, one project, because there are so many.
Sure.
Every week we get updates, and there's so much amazing sort of stuff happening on the ground.
Hmm.
I think for me, like there's a couple of projects that we're working supporting in Indonesia, um, and they're protecting some of the last remaining orangutans. So they have a lot of palm oil plantations around them, and I don't know if like that's maybe one of the more emotive, because we've seen the videos of sort of forest being cut down and orangutans sort of trying to fight the diggers. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
yeah, that's maybe one that springs to mind, that they're making some great progress, kind of protecting what's left of these kind of these orangutan populations, um, in Borneo. So that's probably one that springs to mind.
Yeah. I could see how that one would be impactful. So
Uh,
shifting gears, just sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead.
I was going to shift gears. I wanted to
Mm.
start talking a little bit about where you're going and how you're thinking about scaling up. But I wanted to know, you guys are a funded organization.
Yeah, we've raised venture capital, crowdfund, angel,
Okay.
foundation investments. We raised about £3 million to date.
And so that sort of so if it's venture capital, there's an expectation of return. I'm guessing, right? So that puts you on a path to be heading somewhere, right? As opposed to
Yeah.
just creating a sustainable small business. You're looking to create an exit event for your investors. I'm guessing. So so you've got to get somewhere. Where
Yeah.
is that somewhere? How are you thinking about scaling?
Yeah. We have very supportive investors who are
Yeah.
impact focused.
Okay.
Who
Yeah.
support the cause. So there's no push or rush to do things in a certain way.
Yeah.
We believe setting ourselves up as a for-profit company, a social enterprise, B Corp, for-profit,
Hmm.
will enable us to raise more funds in the future to deliver the 150 million hectare goal by 2030. So that's really our main priority, getting to that milestone. And you know, what could an exit look like for our investors? It could be a strategic acquisition that can help us deliver that goal um, before 2030, after 2030. It might be a public offering, a tokenization of shares. I mean, there's a few different ways that they might be able to gain a return on their investment. But for us, we're in it for the long term, in it for the long run,
Yeah.
and yeah, the impact is our key focus. Um, but if we can deliver a return and enables us to raise more money to accelerate, the one thing that
Hmm.
I always think about is just time is against us, to be kind of blunt, and we need to move quicker.
Well,
And
so on that, what
yeah,
are your biggest challenges to scaling up? What holds you back?
yeah, it's been we've been Earthly's been is in its fourth year, so it's probably now we're starting to work with the bigger enterprise clients. We're winning the global contracts like Deloitte. We're kind of getting there where we can work with those bigger players.
Hmm.
Um, but that's been the building up our reputation
Yeah.
and showing that we can deliver these much larger multi-million pound contracts for for, for,
And
for for corporates. Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't insinuating that you weren't going fast enough. And to be
No,
clear, I
no,
mean,
no, no. But I would like to. I'm always thinking, what
right.
can we do to care, to carefully, because again, you don't want to run before you can walk. You don't want to got to do things sensibly, but it's constantly every day in my mind. And like, how can we get the balance, do things a bit quicker, but not undermine um, the quality of our work?
So where is the challenge in bringing in more funders, or is it in getting more
Mhm.
uh, getting that like 8% to 20%, or increasing the number of actions? Which side is the harder challenge for you?
Um, I think it's been on the businesses, to be blunt, especially because of the media that we've had, and
Ah,
and this kind of this misconception that all carbon credits are bad and anyone investing in carbon credits is greenwashing, which is just simply
right.
not true. In fact, evidence has shown that those companies that have been buying carbon credits, the last year or so, actually have some of the most, they're on the opposite end of the spectrum of greenwashing. They're doing things amazingly well, and they're
Hmm.
so yeah. That's been this paralysis, which is now changing, luckily, and people are starting to look beyond some of the media coverage and obviously with confidence in the projects that they're supporting, which is something that we can help
Hmm.
with, to really kind of get funds going back to nature, and showing kind of climate leadership, nature leadership, which has been missing, but really needed to get things going in the right direction at the pace that we need.
So the carbon credits compared to the biodiversity, the nature-based solutions part.
Yeah,
So as a percentage, which what are the sort of the percentage distributions for you? Is
for
carbon
us,
credits much bigger?
yeah. At the moment, carbon credits is bigger,
Right. Okay.
and the biodiversity market is very early, so
So
it's
that was that kind of like a new market you're trying to develop, and as a way to diversify your offering in a way.
yeah, there's two things. One area in the UK,
Mm.
there's a compliance market now for they're
Yeah.
called biodiversity net gain units. So that's
Yeah.
here, that's happening.
Yeah.
That's
I saw that.
So we're supporting through that part of the market, and then there's just an appetite from businesses that have a low carbon footprint that care more about biodiversity to be focusing on that side. So partly as well, maybe the reputation of carbon credits for the reasons, even though they're still critically important.
Yeah.
Um, so that's probably a factor that some businesses are now like, no, I really want to look at biodiversity credits, but biodiversity is much more complex than carbon. Carbon's one number that you can measure.
Hmm.
Biodiversity, well, there's lots of different approaches people are taking at the moment to kind of measure improvement and
Hmm.
define a credit.
Yeah.
But I personally believe the biodiversity market will be bigger than the carbon market in the future.
Hmm. Right. I can see that. Um, it's something that I personally can connect to a little bit more easily. I'm surprised that when you say that your bigger challenge is on the business side, that really surprised me. I would have thought the market for that was really fluid and liquid and well developed.
I think
So I'm
on the
surprised.
project side, what we have seen is higher quality projects, the pricing has gone up considerably. And then those projects that have maybe been caught up in the media and people have realized have got significant issues, the pricing has dropped down considerably.
Right.
So,
Huh.
but luckily through our approach and through our assessment, we've got a great pipeline of high quality projects that meet our minimum
Project. Yeah.
standards, and strategically these relationships that we're building up with these kind of leading high integrity developers is proven to be really valuable to what we're doing.
No, I can see that. It's a very easy project to connect with from my perspective. So when you're talking about exit opportunities, the idea of it would be very easy thing to package and take public. I could see the story being very simple to sell.
I do you know, and I hope so, and I do. I am quite excited by allowing democratizing the involvement of the general public into something like this, and allowing everyone to play a part in the to not only help provide the funds for this nature restoration and protection, but also to have a share of the upside of the development of these projects. So watch this space, Anton.
Share in the upside on these projects. Okay, that's really intriguing. I will not go any deeper on that at this stage.
Yeah.
Save it for a future discussion, maybe. I just wanted to get a little overview of your team. Again, it's a exciting project, so I'm guessing it's been pretty easy to attract some talented people. How's your team coming along at this stage?
Yeah, I'd be very lucky. I've been had the privilege of working with some amazing people, and we're fully remote. So the
Cool.
team is spread across Europe and Africa and India.
Yeah, cool.
16 full time, 25 in the full, including part time. And yeah, I think being an impact focused company's helped. Being fully remote, like we've got some great colleagues in Rwanda, for example. Um,
Right.
and we do a 4-day work week,
Yep.
which I think that the combination of these three things has meant that we've been able to work with some incredible people, and wouldn't be where we are without the team who are involved in the business. And I'm very, very lucky. I've got an incredible co-founder as well, who to share the positives and share the challenges that we've had and will no doubt face in the years to come.
Yeah. No, that's important. So I'm very conscious of time, and I wanted to wrap it up. Um, but as I believe I told you, I'm trying to test new ways to wrap things up because I've my previous podcasts have been a little bit dry
Yeah.
at the end. So I wanted to try to go through a round of quick fire questions with you
Okay.
to learn a little bit about yourself. I'm
Okay.
hoping these are quick fire questions. We'll see. So, um, where is a country that you would like to visit that you haven't already visited?
Oh, so many countries. There's a whole hit list. I haven't been to any of South America.
South America.
So South
Lovely.
America, I haven't done any of South America, so that definitely is up there. Ideally, maybe Brazil, Peru. Actually, see one of the projects that we're working with, perhaps.
Yeah, well, see, that's one of the great things of the work you're in. When you travel, you can travel with purpose, right? So it makes it makes it more engaging, I suppose. Along the same lines, a book that you want to read that you've not yet read.
I would have prepped if I'd known.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I need to provide these to because
I've got a
they're not
pile of
so quick
books.
fire.
I've got a pile of books here that I'm planning to read that I haven't. I mean, let me just pick one that's near the front. Here we go. Here, this one. This one.
How to make
Alan Moore
an
kindly
immediate
sent me
business.
this. So this is top of the pile. How
Very
to make
good.
it the business the world needs.
So I also have a whole pile of books. I
Yeah,
keep coming across books and I
but
picked
you
them
got
up
like
of Amazon.
you're behind you. I can see you got a good collection there. So
Yeah. Well, these ones are the ones I've read. I have
okay,
like a shelf downstairs with books that I haven't read, and it's just
yeah,
it just keeps growing and becomes a more of a scary thing because I'm getting further and further behind.
yeah.
Um, if you had a magic wand and could change something overnight in the conservation and development sector, what would that one thing be?
I mean, again, there's a few things spring to mind. I don't. I think I would a way. The big challenge we were saying is like training people who know how to do this stuff on the ground. So like, if
Hmm.
there was a way of like giving instant education training to like ecopreneurs that are doing nature protection and restoration, if there's a way of like just giving the skills immediately to people, because that's a big blocker we have at the moment. That would be my
Hmm.
magic one. So anyone that wants to be involved in nature protection and restoration, then they can click their fingers and they can get the skills needed to do it.
That's an interesting problem. I didn't realize that was a problem that existed. I'm gonna
Yeah, I think look,
bookmark that one.
I think it's going to be more of an issue in the future when we when
Yeah,
we when
right.
we when the land is available or the ocean is available. We need people to execute. We just need the
Hmm.
talent to make the stuff happen.
What's an interest that you have that when people look at you as the CEO and founder of Earthly, they
Hmm.
wouldn't have a clue that you have this interest?
I've got a little inflatable boat I take on the Thames with an
Do you
electric motor.
really?
Yeah, cool. Which my son's called Bernie
Yeah,
after a robot. So yeah, I love to do that. And it's actually I'm near Richmond, so the river there's really beautiful with lots of wildlife, and
right.
you can spend about 4 or 5 hours out, and it fits in my boot, and I've got a little pump, and it inflates up. So yeah, that's a real hobby and passion for me and the
Oh,
family.
that's cool. No, that's cool. I have a VW camper van, and we have our paddle boards permanently in the back, so that we can just pop off and go hit the sea at any point. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, first thing is note to self: I need to make sure that I send the quickfire questions to the interviewees so that they can prepare beforehand. Thanks so much, Ollie. It was a pleasure to learn about yourself and Earthly. It's super exciting, and like I said, it's great to have a founder on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate. Yeah, I've really enjoyed chatting, and yeah, I wish you all the best.
You too. All right. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.